Hi, this is Kevin.
And I'm Pranit.
We're with Team 31. We have moved to the next stages in developing our alcohol recovery web app, which will be used to assist those in recovery in tracking their alcohol use, discovering reasons not to drink, discovering alternative activities, and communicating their alcohol use patterns to their counselor or doctor.
In designing the architecture of the app, we have identified the languages that we'll be using for the front end, back end, and the database. For the back end, we'll be using Java Spring Boot to create the API to be used for database and front end communication. Our backend will not only do most group members feel more comfortable with Java in general, but we all now have some experience working with the Fire libraries in Java. Spring Boot will be useful to us as it provides a convenient and flexible means for database transactions, is compatible with containers, and reduces configuration and production times. We'll be using the Google Maps API to develop a local activity search function to recommend exercise and maybe other types of productive activity. Our database will be a MySQL database. This type of database provides a simple way to store data points such as alcohol intake and the date. Our frontend will consist of jQuery, JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Our group has shared knowledge of these languages. Because of our app doesn't have complex user interface functionalities, these languages will allow us to keep the frontend simple and thus run into fewer complications.
Our app will implement Smart on Fire and use Fire patient data to produce motivational advice personalized to the user and acquire physician counselor contact data. We may be able to use Fire data to acquire alcohol abuse information, which can be a component of the consumption timeline and or milestone awards. In addition to text-based motivation, we may use patient Fire data for certain diagnoses represented as ICD-10 codes for chronic illnesses aggravated by alcohol to visually show improvement charts, creative images, or animations to communicate personalized improvements to their health. Our web app will be developed to execute within Docker Linux containers and will be deployed to the HDAP Kubernetes development cluster.
Our code will be stored in a repository in GitHub. The repository will contain separate folders for both the frontend and the backend. Each folder will have a separate Docker file that Drone will use to ultimately build the container corresponding to each application. Deployments will be initialized by pushes to the designated deployment branch. When Drone is notified of a deployment request, it will read a values.yml in the base of a repository and use this to build the containers necessary for application to run. In this case, that will include containers for both the frontend and the backends and the MySQL database that we will use for persistence. Drone will then push the Docker containers to a Kubernetes cluster where the applications will be deployed to an individual pod where they can be accessed via the web.
We'll be aiming for a high quality user interface which is visually attractive and very easy to use. Because our users may be under the influence of alcohol, we don't want to discourage them at all from using the app due to the lack of ability to navigate it. We have thus chosen a simple but elegant design with a static navigation bar. A general use case for the app will include logging in and being presented with a drink tracker page. This page will be used to record recent intake. A motivational fact will be displayed on each page. As mentioned, these facts will be categorized based on ICD-10 and other Fire data, so when we acquire a patient's Fire record, we can present them with facts that are personalized to their unique health circumstances. Alcohol use tracked by the app will be used in fact categorization.
Users can also navigate to any page from any other. One of these pages will display milestones and reward users can achieve from abstaining. They may even have the ability to email achievements or history to friends, counselors, and doctors.
A user may navigate to a page. Here, they will be able to visually view the amount of drinks they have had over the past month and may be able to see information for longer time spans.
Another use case involves a sober patient who has not logged into the app to track any alcohol consumed, but to try and curb cravings, boredom, and general lack of meaningful things to do. In addition to cravings, boredom can be a main factor in one's decision to drink again. If someone is in danger of relapse due to cravings, one of the best things they can do is physical activity. Exercise has been shown to benefit those in recovery by providing pleasurable states and moods without alcohol. In addition to reducing stress and cravings, exercise can ingrain essential confidence that one can indeed enjoy their life fully without alcohol. People who engage in meaningful, productive activities in general stay sober longer. The user will use our app to receive recommendations on local physical activities and potentially meaningful activities in which to spend their time and divert attention away from the cravings and reasons they used to drink. This portion of the app will use the Google Maps API. We have begun to compile and categorize our motivational facts based on ICD 10 codes and alcohol tracking inputting data.
Our updated Gantt chart illustrates the work we have completed to produce this presentation, as well as beginning to list the next steps. The next big step will be setting up the deployment pipeline with HTAP and Kubernetes. We will use a basic app template to make sure it can be deployed, and then integrate our locally developed app into it. Overall, we plan on jumping into implementation as soon as we can.
Thank you for listening to our presentation.